In almost every Calamity playthrough I do, I rely so much more on my equipment than any kind of skill. Whether it's more damage from an emblem, a more defensive set of armour, or better wings for mobility, there's almost always an improvement I can make to overcome whatever challenge I'm facing. But what if I took all that away? No emblems, no armour, no wings, not even a stepping stool. How far can I get in Calamity without a single piece of equipment? My first day on the world is surprisingly normal. I explore some of the surface and instinctively chop down some cactus, before realising I won't get to feel the thorny embrace of cactus armour on my skin in this playthrough, so instead I head back to spawn and build some NPC housing. Since Calamity buffs the player's base movement speed and jump height, early game traversal in this playthrough isn't too bad, so I explore even further to the right and end day 1 by seeking refuge in a cave. Within this cave I find a diamond tree, a vein of 8 topaz, and a little further down, another vein of 7 topaz. Usually, I wouldn't mention such insignificant finds in a video like this, but considering the lack of almost any other possible upgrades, getting enough gems to craft a hook is actually quite a major milestone. The best part is that I don't even have to equip the hook to use it. It just works straight from the inventory. This way, I can keep the player equipment section completely empty, which makes absolutely no difference to the gameplay, but does trick my brain into releasing the feel-good chemicals it so desperately craves. Other than a hook, my main way to get stronger in the early game is to begin collecting potions. So I craft some clay pots and start a very basic herb farm before my stream chat reminds me of the space planetoid, which comes with plenty of planter boxes and herb bags to kickstart the farming grind. While my herbs grow, I scour the caverns for life crystals and any other useful materials I can find. However, with my very limited mobility and non-existent defense, even a cave bat proves too much to handle. While this caving trip may have only netted me 1 life crystal, it did give me enough iron ore to combine with my newly sprouted day blooms to make a 30 stack of iron skin potions. Considering the fact that I'll probably need a few hundred, if not a few thousand attempts against some bosses in this playthrough, I've opted to go against my usual low to no quality of life rule and have installed Fargos for infinite potions. I've gone into the config and have disabled every other feature that can be disabled however, as I wouldn't want to remove too much of the grind. Speaking of grind, the next few hours are spent slowly increasing my health, farming herbs for more potions, crafting a magic storage system, and repeatedly dying in the jungle while looking for a staff of regrowth. By this point, the gem tree I found has generated enough diamonds to upgrade my hook, and my garden has produced enough herbs to craft a 30 stack of gravitation potions, making it very easy to travel to the sulphurous sea and free the angler. Fishing in this run is going to be pretty awful since I won't be able to use any of the armour or accessories specifically designed to make it not awful. For this reason, my next priority potion is sonar, since this will stop me wasting so much bait on useless catches and also happens to be the easiest to make, requiring only coral and water leaf along with the usual bottles of water. One of my early fishing stops is of course the ocean to reel in a reaver shark, giving me the pickaxe power needed to mine hellstone. Since this thing is so slow however, I make a detour to the caverns lab to grab the onyx excavator key for faster mining, before finally making my way to the underworld to tear through some hellstone. While this may not be useful for the armour and accessories it would usually unlock, it does provide a lot of powerful weapon options to choose from. However, before I can make any of those, the arguably much better Bladecrest Oath Sword drops from a demon. This thing left such a huge impression on me in my 1-block run that it became a major inspiration for the mousepad I made in collaboration with Eclipsify. If you'd like to support the channel, preserve real art over AI generated slop, and get a high quality mousepad in the process, then this is a great way of doing so. There's a link in the description down below if you want to grab one. With one of my favourite pre-hardmode weapons secured, I finally felt ready to take on the Goblin army. Honestly, I barely felt the difference fighting this event with no armour or accessories. You simply don't need that much defence or mobility provided your damage is high enough, which mine is thanks to the Oath Sword. On the other hand, there's much fewer reasons to fight the goblins in this challenge compared to a normal playthrough, where combining and reforging accessories can be a major power boost. In this one though, all I really gain is the ability to condense components of the cell phone and better reforges on my weapons. This does prevent the goblin stinker from hoovering up all my spare cash however, so that's a nice and somewhat literal silver lining. For now though, it's back to more grinding for potions, completing fishing quests, and then searching for the shimmer to grab some permanent upgrades. I of course leave a pylon here for easy access, then head to the complete opposite side of the world to find a sentry upgrade in the sulphurous sea. Sentries and minions are going to be a pretty major source of damage in this playthrough. As for my primary weapon, I'll want to prioritise some kind of mobility or utility over damage. Without such a weapon, most boss fights will go something like this. As you can see, my movement is quite slow and I can't really react to the boss's movements while mid-air. An arena would help for sure, as with the right setup I'd be able to move around with my hook much more effectively than I can now. But even then I'd be likely to spend a few dozen attempts against each boss. That settles it then. We need a weapon with some kind of mobility, and I have the perfect one in mind. In fact, this is the weapon that gave me the idea for this run in the first place, as I had so much fun with it in my one block run that I wanted to do a playthrough where it could truly shine. I am of course talking about the Old Lord Claymore, a drop from Bone Serpents that comes with a unique right click attack that charges a powerful dash in the direction of the cursor, allowing me to dash through some enemies without taking contact damage. I'm sure that without this, I'd still have a decent chance of beating most pre-hardmode bosses, but why settle for a decent chance when I can destroy them by simply flinging myself at them with the silly spinny sword?
It's quite an easy fight when you've got the Old Lord Claymore, even with no accessories or armour. Watch me now die. Never mind, maybe don't watch me die.
King Slime and Desert Scourge were stupidly easy with the Claymore, and if not for the Blood Moon I would have gone straight into the Eye of Cthulhu fight as well. Instead I spend the entire night slashing through mobs, then skip to the Brain of Cthulhu the next day. This first fight was pretty much doomed as soon as I had to swap away from my Claymore to put down the Rusty Beacon, which I really should have done before starting. And when I say doomed, what I really mean is that it continued for another minute from that point and ended with the boss on just over 400 health. So with the platform and some arena buffs, I'm almost sure to beat it the next time. The obvious blunder on this attempt was switching to the Bladecrest Oath Sword after getting rid of all the creepers, giving me a short yet horrifying glimpse at how awful this challenge would be without the absolute goat that is the Old Lord Claymore. In fact, by sticking with it, I even managed to get an adrenaline on the next attempt.
I might keep that for the damage reduction. In fact, no, let's just use it. We don't need the damage reduction if we don't get hit. Okay, this is all going much easier than I thought it would. Game too easy. Make game hard.
Despite my plea, game would continue to be easy for the next couple of bosses, with me taking down the Eye of Cthulhu that night in well under a minute.
Not all known dashes. Old Lord Claymore is OP. I have to say it. Literally using no accessories and no armour right now.
Crabulon puts up a bit more of a fight and even gets me down to a single digit health.
Hopefully our damage is high enough that we just kill him before he's an issue. Okay, so maybe a slight arena is needed. Maybe I just need to stop ramming straight into him and getting hit. Okay, yeah, turned out it was that.
The perforators give me a bit more trouble, with the hive removing over half my health in the first 3 seconds while I try to charge my dash. After this I regain some footing and manage to take down the first worm, however before I can take down the second one, the third spawns and together they overwhelm me. I learn my lesson from this first fight and dash through the cyst to start my second, gaining some space between myself and the boss. I then take down the first worm easily and try to focus more on damaging the second one over the hive itself.
I mean, if I can dash along the entire length of the worm, it does a whole lot of damage. Like, look at that. Problem is, if I then get hit, I take a whole lot of damage.
Unfortunately, that damage proves a little too much for my bare skin to handle, and I'm looking at a third attempt.
Okay, let's try and play it really safe this time. Immediately gets hit. Them splitting so early is nice. Splitting later would be better than earlier. Got another double worm incident on our hands. Although one of them's about to go down. Yeah, that's one of the worms defeated. So I think I just focus on the hive now. Or the sister, whatever it's called. Never mind, I'm dead. I don't think we need to make any changes for this to work. I think I just need to try a few more times and it'll happen. Okay, this is going better, I think. We're actually getting the worms down when we're supposed to. Although I don't think it's worth doing the last worm, right? Slightly harder than the last few, but that makes sense. The game is supposed to get harder and you're supposed to get more gear to take them on, and we have not upgraded our gear once.
And despite now having access to both the Perforator's drops and Area Light from the Sky Islands, my upgrades remain sparse.
I guess what we could do is we could go get Area Light. It should be pretty easy to get now. And we can see what the Biome Blade is like, because that's another possibility for movement as a weapon. I love the jungle one because it pulls you to blocks. Oh, does it? Does it act as a hook? I did not know that. Okay, let's try the jungle one. Okay, that's going to be quite hard to use, I think, especially during boss fights. I can store 2 though, so I can keep it as an option, but I think the one I want is Crimson. This is the one where, yeah, you go into enemies like this. It's maybe a harder one to use than the Old Lord Claymore. And then there's also the desert one, I'm pretty sure, right? Maybe there's not the desert one? I thought there was one where you held swords out in front of you and like bounced along the ground. Maybe the wind is pushing you and not letting you attune it. That could be the case, yeah. Yeah. Here it is. I can now run away from things by jumping along the ground.
Other than the Biome Blade, the only thing I really unlocked from the Perforators is the ability to craft Tesla potions. So I head down to the Sunken Sea to gather some pearl shards, take down the giant clam while I'm here, then head back to base to craft the potions. Next up is Queen Bee, so after clearing out a bit of an arena I give her a try. Once again, the Old Lord Claymore gives me quite a lot of mobility and allows me to fight dashes with dashes, avoiding the contact damage that comes with them. It's a little harder to dodge her stingers as the gaps between them are quite small, but overall it's actually going pretty well until one of my minions decides to shoot through some blocks and awaken a second Queen Bee.
Oh, 2 Queen Bees, that's not good. Barely handling one of them. I mean, I say I was barely handling one of them. I did get it to give me adrenaline.
Getting back to the same stage isn't too difficult, but when she starts shooting out spreads of stingers, my lack of any precise mobility really starts to show. The Claymore excels at quick bursts of movement, which works wonders against dashes or getting distance from a boss, but when you need to manoeuvre a little more carefully between many projectiles, it becomes clear that this is not what it was intended for. Eventually I figure out that pausing the boss fights to extend my arena would be a pretty neat idea, and while doing so I find the Tavern Keep.
Oh, Tavern Keep.
So I decide to take a short intermission from my current intermission to fight the Old One's army, which even with no armour or accessories is still pretty easy with the right weapons. Other than the ability to use the Tavern Keep sentries outside of the event, the main benefit of doing this is the War Table, a station buff that grants an extra sentry slot. With the right sentries, this should be quite a contributor to my overall damage output later down the line, but for now I use it to double the effective area of my rusty beacons against Queen Bee. And despite my own pessimism about the attempt, it actually ends up going quite well.
Almost definitely lost this one. Maybe not. I did get the potion off. There we go. Not the worst, by far.
If this playthrough is starting to feel a bit like a boss rush, then it's probably because there's very little I can actually do between bosses. For instance, now that Queen Bee is down, all I can really do is build more housing for the Witch Doctor to move in, buy an imbuing station to craft some flasks, then it's straight into Skeletron. The first attempt here goes about as well as you'd expect. I immediately get hit for a quarter of my health when he spawns, then die soon after taking out the first set of hands.
Okay, that was expected.
The second attempt, however, is much closer. The practice from that first fail made me a lot better at dodging his skull projectiles, and I'm able to get to the next phase where he respawns his hands. In fact, I even managed to take out his second set of hands and charge an adrenaline. Instead of using this though, I decide to charge straight into a projectile because I'm very smart. This does actually raise an interesting dilemma in this challenge about what the best way to use adrenaline is. You see, it's not just a temporary boost to damage. When it's fully charged, you also gain 50 to 65% damage reduction for the next hit. Normally, you'd have enough survivability from your equipment to make the damage boost the clear answer, but considering that my defense and damage reduction could be mistaken for rounding errors, taking the hit might actually be the better choice.
Oh, 17 health. That is so unfortunate. It feels silly not to try that again.
It was, in fact, silly to try that again, and I ended the stream on a loss. It was at this point that I remembered about the existence of the Corrupt Sky Island, so at the start of the next stream I headed straight there to collect some blocks for an artificial corruption, then fished for enough Eboncoin to craft a stack of 30 Wrath Potions. These certainly helped my damage on the next two Skeletron fights, but thanks to getting stun locked in the head on both attempts, I'm sent back to spawn to reconsider my actions.
Maybe Skeletron's going to be an issue. We did get close last time though, I think we got up to like 17 health. Thing is, my options for getting better gear are quite low. Yep, that'll do it. Ah, that was very, very close. Wait, why are we doing Slime God? It gives the adrenaline upgrade at least. And there's only so many times I can fight Skeletron each night. Okay, I don't think we're going to get anything from Deerclops, right? Because I could technically go take on her. Oh, if I can find the Crimson Effigy. There is a Crimson here, so I'm going to go check that. It does not appear to be here. Yeah, there's more there at the snow pylon. Okay, yes, here it is. Crimson Effigy. 15% increased damage and 10 defense, but I get 10% less health. That is well worth it.
I place down the Crimson Effigy at my Skeletron arena and make some other improvements, only for this to happen on the next attempt.
Oh, double hit in like 0 seconds as well.
I actually don't know what happened here, so maybe someone in the comments can explain. After getting hit, you're supposed to get 40 frames of invincibility before you can be hit again, but that just doesn't seem to have applied in this case. I even went into my editing software and counted out 13 frames in between hits. And it's not even a case of different damage sources having different invincibility groups, since they both came straight from the head. Either way, I then remember about endurance potions, so spend some time fishing in the caverns to make them. By which point it's daytime, so I can't fight Skeletron anyway. Instead, I give the Slime God another try and eventually stumble into a very simple and highly effective strategy.
Wait, can I just keep going up? I mean, I don't want them to despawn, but if I just keep going up, will they just keep teleporting into me and then I can dash through them? Because they only deal contact damage while falling, right? And I can dash through them to avoid the contact damage. There's the first set down. Slime God defeated. Okay, so once I use the really cheesy strategy that is just floating in the air, it's actually not that hard. Okay, so I've got the Coral Slime Staff. That might be helpful, better than the Hornet anyway. Zen and Zerg will be helpful at some point, but I think for now, the best thing from that was just the fact that I now take less damage and deal more damage from Adrenaline. What I may do is craft one sashimi just for the fight with Skeletron. So we should be taking less damage, especially if we've got Adrenaline, dealing slightly more damage, and be a bit faster as well. Okay, I think this is the point where I don't try and deal damage, I just try and dodge. And then die. It's definitely possible with the setup we've got at the moment. What helped is that I no-hit for the first, like, third of that fight. Okay, that was a reasonably clean fight, to be honest. Obviously could have not got hit for more of it, but it was good enough. Okay, the 100 bones can be instantly used for something, probably. Probably Void Bag's the best bit for the first set. Because now I can go into here, do this.
Now before I get any comments about it, I know that Fargo's makes potions work from the piggy bank, but since that's not a vanilla or Calamity feature, I decided early on to avoid it, even if it would have made my life a whole lot easier up to this point. What is a Calamity feature, however, is the ability to craft one of the best food buffs in the game from a water bottle, 2 bones, and a single piece of ice, which I somehow hadn't realised until this playthrough. The main upgrades from defeating Skeletron are of course found in the dungeon, where I grab a bewitching table for my final extra minion slot of the playthrough, the mechanic for any wiring I want to do, and an alchemy table to unlock new potions and make old ones cheaper. Other than the extra minion slot, none of this is all that helpful for the next boss however.
Okay, so technically it's just Deerclops and wall, right? Okay, let's go get some flinks first. It's a very quick way of mining, I guess. Oh wow, yeah, this is a very quick way of mining. Is this new tech? People know about that. Because I can just hold this down. I don't even have to really recharge it. Oh, there's the flinks that I need. Give me your fur, please. And let's give it a go. Okay, so that doesn't go very well. Okay, I need to react faster to that. I never normally fight Deerclops is the thing, so I don't know how to fight him. Or her. I can go through the legs, I know that. Maybe I go through the legs. Okay, I think I've got the rhythm now. Okay, easy. Quite easy once you get the rhythm. Pretty cheesy, not gonna lie. That's how you're supposed to fight it though. You're supposed to just dash back and forth through the legs, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what Calamity intended you to do.
With Deerclops down, there is now only one boss standing between myself and hard mode, the Wall of Flesh itself. This one is going to be a bit of a more unique challenge though, as simply dashing through it with the claymore would result in certain death, so I'll have to get a little more creative.
What's my current plan for WOF? I'm hoping that I'm either fast enough as is with the Onyx Excavator mount, or I'm going to use the Frozen Slime blocks, because I can keep my momentum on those infinitely and just use the Old Lord Claymore to speed up really fast. Okay, let's check some Frozen Slime blocks. Let's just do a test here. Right, so if I went onto this with that, I'm going pretty fast. Probably faster than I would ever need to be going. So it looks like the top speed for this is about 80, which is faster than I would ever need to go. Yeah, speed shouldn't be an issue, it's more going to be maneuverability, I think, to avoid the lasers.
And so I get to work flattening out the Brimstone Crags biome and placing down some frozen slime blocks. Then eventually get bored of that and start a side quest for a better minion. The Vile Feeder is supposedly the best minion in pre-hard mode, but due to the fact that I picked a Crimson world, it's quite a bit harder to get than usual. First, I'll have to extend my corruption a bit so that a hive tumor can spawn, then I take down the hive mind itself with minimal difficulty.
Yes, it can spawn. Okay, let's see if this actually goes well at all. This part's probably quite easy, I imagine. It might actually be easier than it usually is. Pretty easy, I must say. And 15 corrupt seeds. Nice.
I take the corrupt seeds dropped by the hive mind and place them down on some dirt, as this is the only way to get corrupt grass in pre-hard mode on a Crimson world, which I need for the vile mushrooms that spawn on top of it. While these grow, I go back to building my Wall of Flesh arena and return to harvest them later. I don't quite get enough vile mushrooms, so I turn the ones I do have into vile powder, throw that on some regular mushrooms to get more vile mushrooms, then turn those vile mushrooms into vile powder to craft the Eater of Worlds summon.
Okay, let's do that in the morning. Do I not take damage from the actual body unless it's moving? Because if so, that's crazy. Okay, messy, but got the job done. Got our Vile Feeder. And this is definitely better than the Herring Staff. Vile Feeder is better single target DPS than like half of early hard mode minions for some reason. I knew it was powerful, but I didn't realize it was that powerful. I thought it was like good for pre-hard mode.
With that, I was pretty much ready to get into some Wall of Flesh attempts. All I had to do was place down some buff stations along my arena, and it was time to get started.
Okay, and we're actually at the end of the bridge, so could give it a go. Don't know what else I've got to lose. Come on, old Lord Claymore. Carry me to victory. Yeah, maybe that just needs to be a bit further.
I place down my remaining frozen slime blocks and give it another couple of tries. The first is cut short thanks to a despair stone getting in my way and removing half my health, and in the second I get comboed in the air by the wall of flesh. At this point I decide to go for more frozen slime blocks to give myself some leeway, and the best way to do that is by farming King Slime. The ice is incredibly easy to gather as well, with the Onyx Excavator and Broken Biome Blade mining it so fast that I'm not even able to collect all the drops. The real pain of expanding my arena isn't in the blocks I need, it's the blocks I don't. Now that I'm at the edge of the Crags biome, I have to spend a lot more time mining out all of the ash, hellstone and ruined houses, along with soaking up all the lava with a sponge to make sure it won't pool at the bottom of my arena. Eventually I get to a point which I think is far enough, and the last improvement I can make is grinding through a couple of blood moons for the blood orbs needed to craft life force potions.
Okay, that was worth it. Us a detour, I think.
With that, I spawn the wall of flesh once again.
Okay, bad start. The inaccuracy does not help, I have to say. Although the rage does help, and the fact that I'm about to get an adrenaline as well. Painful. So we're still 3,000 health off. That's still quite a lot, but the problem is I can't go any further without running into issues with the speed. You just have to farm golf with your elevator. Golf could be the solution, I guess. I'd be able to get up to a higher max speed. I could use the excavator actually. Excavator does give me a higher max speed while not having to use a weapon to maintain it. Let's try that. Oh, this is gonna destroy my bass statues and stuff. Unless I jump over them. I think this might be it. This might be it. There we go. Just needed to use the excavator, and I still had quite a ways to go.
So there you go. That's how I beat all of Calamity pre-hard mode without equipping a single piece of equipment. If you're watching this as it comes out, then you can come join me on my stream where I'll be picking up right from where this video ends. Either way, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.